and welcome to my September book recommendations video. Literally every single month I do this, I forget what month it is. If you didn't know, every month I do a video where I talk about what books I read that month and kind of if they were good or not and if you should read them. And also, I'm trying to read 52 books this year, like get, yeah, like one book a week-ish. So I'm keeping track of how many I've read and if I'm like on track to the 52. We're actually getting pretty close to the end of the year now that I think about it, because there's only September, or we're in September now, then there's just October, November, and December left, so that's a lot. And if you saw, I didn't read much at all in August. I only read like one book in August. I didn't even really make a proper video in August. In one of my Vita videos, I just like mentioned the one book that I'd read because I'd only read one thing, but I read a lot more in September, which is kind of weird because I'm back at school, so you'd think I'm more busy, but I've read some books for school, and also just being in school like inspires me to want to read more. Some people say like when they're in university they don't have very much time to do like personal reading for fun, but I feel like because I'm in a writing university degree, like I'm in a writing program, part of like being in that program is I have to read a lot, because that's like how you get inspired to write, is like reading a lot. So like almost part of my job as a writing student is to read, so I tend to read more during the school year. So I read a lot this month, so I'll get to it because it'll take a little while. So the first thing I read at the beginning of September was more Animorphs. If you haven't watched my previous book recommendation videos, I've talked about Animorphs a bunch. It's a really good series. It's very fun. I'm reading it pretty slowly because I'm like reading a bunch of other stuff in between. I'm on like book 10 or something, but I read more of them. They're really good. I'd recommend them. If you want to know more about them, go watch my other book recommendations videos because I talked about them a whole lot more a few months ago. So I read a few Animorphs books. Then I read a book called We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. The copy I have doesn't have like a cover. I got it used, so it's just a hardcover, but it has a nice cover, and it's called We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and it was really, really good. This is one I actually read for school. I'm taking a class about novel writing for young adults, like writing books for young adults and middle graders, and this is one of the books we had to read for that class, and it's so good. Like, I don't want to give anything away because it's very much like a mystery kind of suspense story, but it's just amazingly good. It's super, super well written. If you enjoy books with like a really strong written voice and that sound really cool, I would highly recommend it. And it's also just a really good story. I really don't want to tell you anything about it because a big part of what makes it so great is you go into it knowing nothing and you come out of it being like blown away by just like the beauty of this book and the plot twists. It's amazing. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Read it for school and absolutely loved it. I read it in just a couple days, so highly recommend that one. Then the next one I don't actually have here because it's from the library and I've already returned to the library, but it's Lumberjanes by Noelle Stevenson. I knew that. I follow her on Twitter. I should know that. But anyways, it's really good. Noelle Stevenson also wrote and drew Nimona, which is an amazing comic that I think I mentioned in one of my previous book recommendation videos. But Lumberjanes is a series. She writes it, and I think somebody else does the art, but she did the character design, so it's kind of like her art style as well. It's really good. It's about a bunch of like teenage, I'm not exactly sure how old they are, teenage of some kind, like young teenage girls going to a camp called Lumberjanes, and it's like kind of like Gravity Falls-esque. There's a lot of like weird mythological creatures and they're in the woods and stuff, and I only read the first volume. I'll probably read the other ones later, but I got distracted by reading other stuff for school. But yeah, the first volume was really, really good, really cute. I love the characters. Like, I love stories with really good, interesting, varied female characters that don't necessarily fall into the tropes of all the female characters you tend to see in media all the time. These were really good female characters. I love all of them. It's the kind of story I'd love to write. So if you like Gravity Falls and you like comics and you like really good female characters and you like cool art styles and just like a lot of fun, super, super recommend Lumberjanes. Really, really good. So I read the first volume of that. Oh, then I was home visiting family, and I was just going through my old bookshelf, and I found an old book that I'd read when I was younger, and I just grabbed it and decided to read it on the plane ride home. And I read it in one day as I was going home from visiting my family. It's called Terry and the Pirates by Julian F. Thompson. Literally, I'd never heard of this book before I got it. I bought it for like 25 cents at a library book sale like a few years ago. I read it when I was younger. I forgot about it. I saw it on the shelf when I was visiting home, and I reread it, and it's actually really good. It's super weird. It's about this girl who decides to run away from home by like stowing away on this rich guy's yacht. Not a yacht, it's like a sailboat. And then she thinks it's this rich guy going on this like solo sailboat adventure, but it ends up being his son who stole the boat to try to like make his dad notice him more. And then she and the kid get like kidnapped by pirates, like modern day pirates in like the Bermuda Triangle. And also the son of the rich guy thinks he's the reincarnation of this French marquis, and she like falls in love with the French marquis that he is the reincarnation of. It's like super, super weird and funny, but super enjoyable. Like I said, I read it in one day. Like I was reading it on the plane home, and then I finished it that night when I got home because I was like, I don't know, it's so fun. So weird, but I super, super loved it. So Terry and the Pirates, if you like kind of weird stuff and also pirates, I love pirates, by the way. Have I mentioned how much I love pirates? I'm a huge fan of pirates. So yeah, pirates, weird stuff, it's really good. Then, like I said, I read a lot this month. I read another book for my young adult novels class that I'm taking, and it's called Wonder by R.J. Palacio. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this is one that I'd seen in stores before and always said like, that sounds interesting, I'd like to read it, but never got around to it, so I'm glad I got to read it for school, and it was also super, super good. This one it's interesting because it's quite long and quite dense and quite interesting, but it is technically written for like a middle grade audience. Like the main character is in grade 5, I think. It's about this kid who's in grade 5 who was born with a really bad birth defect that affected his face. And he's never gone to school before, and he's always been homeschooled, and he's starting middle school for the first time. And that's sort of the crux of the story, that like he's starting middle school and he doesn't look like other kids at all. And it's the way the people at school react to him and his family reacts to him. And it jumps around in voices. It's not just his voice, it's the other kids at school, it's his older sister, it's his older sister's boyfriend. It's just like everyone in the world around him and how this year at school goes. But it's super, super well written. You will fall in love with all of the characters. And even though it's technically written for a younger audience, it's really good. It really stands up. You don't have to be in grade 5 to like it, but I think if you were in grade 5, you would still like it. Like, it's a really good, well-written book. I loved it a lot. It isn't necessarily, like, We Were Liars is very much like the voice is amazing and the mystery is amazing and it's really intense. And this is more like a soft, good story that will make you really care about the characters. And I just liked it a lot. They're making a movie of it as well. Either the movie just came out or is going to come out. I haven't seen the movie. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be hard to make as a movie because I don't know, it just works really well as a book and hearing the different characters' voices and stuff. But I would recommend the book, and maybe go see the movie when it comes out. I'll probably go see it just to compare, but book is super, super good. Wonder. And that's technically all I read this month. But I have 2 other things that I'm like in the middle of reading right now. I'm reading this, which is The Magic Words by Cheryl B. Klein. This is a book about writing, and I'm actually also reading it for that novel writing class. So I'm technically reading it for school, but it's also really, really interesting as a book. If you're at all interested in writing books for teenagers and young adults, it's a really good resource. So I'm in the middle of reading this, and the other thing I'm in the middle of reading is My Hero Academia, the manga. I put this on my list because technically I'm just reading it online. So I don't have like the physical book, and technically there's like, I don't know, like 20 volumes or something, and I'm reading like all of them. So if I put all the volumes on Goodreads, that would be like the rest of the books I need to read this year to get to 52. But even though technically it's like that many volumes, I'm just gonna count it as one thing. So I just put the first volume of My Hero Academia on Goodreads, and when I'm caught up to the series, I'll just check that off. Does that make sense? I wanted to include it in my Goodreads books because I am reading it and it's really good, and I have included other like comics, but I also didn't want it to be like, because I'm reading this whole manga online, that like covers all the books I'm gonna read this month. Does that make sense? Anyways, I'm in the middle of reading that. I'm actually pretty close to caught up. I'm at chapter like 130 something, and I think there's like 150 chapters so far. If you don't know what it is a manga about these kids who are going to superhero school. And it's really, really good. If you like manga and you like superheroes and you like really good characters, I would super, super recommend it. It's one of my favorite mangas or animes that I've read or watched in a long time. And if you don't think you like anime and manga, you should give it a try because it's actually a really, really good medium and it's super fun. There's also an anime of My Hero Academia. It's also called Boku no Hero Academia, which is like the Japanese name. There's an anime, and I watched the anime, and then when I was caught up to the anime, I was like, I love this so much. So then I went and read the manga, which is also super, super good. So that's the other thing I'm reading right now, which isn't technically a book, but it's kind of a book. And yeah, that's what I'm reading. I've technically read 34 books out of 52. I'm in the middle of My Hero Academia and the Magic Words book, and I'm a little bit behind on getting to 52, but like I said, I read a lot more this month than the last few months, and I'm pretty sure in October, November, December I'm going to read more, so I still think I will actually get to 52. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some book recommendations that you want to check out. All the books I read this month were really, really good, so I would recommend any of them. And if you want more book recommendation videos, I make these every month, so you can go back. I'll put a link in the description to all the other previous ones. And you can like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more. And thank you for watching. Oh, you can also become my friend on Goodreads. I'll put a link to my Goodreads account below, and if you want to friend me on there, you can see what I'm reading, and I can see what you're reading, and we can all read more books together.